To any of my new subscribers, I apologize for the disorienting door in the background. My garage in San Francisco is on a 30-degree angle. There's nothing I can do about it. Growth hacking, lead generation, circling back. What is that, and is it important? It is if you want to pay your rent, and if you're of working age in the year 2024 and not some kind of fourth dimensional time demon, chances are you've got a LinkedIn account that you use to expand your network and leverage your work experience in the highly competitive job market. If you do exist outside of time and space, none of this really matters to you, but thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe. For the rest of us, we're forced to suck up to strangers on the internet in order to convince them we can show up on time and aren't going to say something racist on Twitter. We might not get a job that is exactly what we love, but we might be able to at least find something we only kind of hate. Or actually hate, because the only response you get from sending out thousands of resumes was for a position milking the anal glands of dogs at the local SPCA. You've got bills to pay. The thing is, one of the main ways people search for employment is on LinkedIn, which has descended into an embarrassing hellhole of cringe CEOs and weird linked influencers who lack any personality, going viral for their blind allegiance to corporate life and a love of open floor plans and growth cycles, or whatever. Buying shoes from Allbirds. When you think of brain rot social media platforms, you probably think of Facebook with all its AI-generated crap being shared back and forth between bots and boomers who don't know how to update their printer drivers. Or perhaps Instagram and how it has negatively affected the mental health of millions of people. Or billions? I'm not sure anymore. Or TikTok, that is an ever-evolving, intangible, Lovecraftian nightmare of conspiracy theories, misinformation, and hyper-niche micro-influencer drama. When we think of social media platforms, we tend to imagine a place where you can share photos or shower thoughts and stay up to date on current events presented in an easy-to-read meme format. The social media landscape has evolved way beyond each app doing one thing really well, where you can share videos and privately message strangers and monetize the content you create, all from the home screen of any one of these apps. But there is a platform that does all that and more in ways that are confusing and cringe. LinkedIn. Duh, that's what the title of the video is. It often gets ignored when talking about what constitutes a social media platform and even functions counterintuitively in some ways to other platforms. Where you might block your coworkers on Instagram and Twitter, you actively connect with them on LinkedIn. Where you might avoid posting anything embarrassing that could get you fired, a viral post on LinkedIn might actually lead to a promotion. It's a platform that arguably does more to speed us down the road toward a dystopian, hyper-capitalist technocracy than all the others because of its close ties to participating in the business and economics of job seeking and shameless self-promotion. And also in creating some of the most obnoxious corporate jargon on the planet that makes you recoil in embarrassment when someone says it unironically. Synergize. I feel like collectively, we kind of forget that LinkedIn isn't just a job board used to spam easy apply listings you're overqualified for with an inbox that's full of sponsored recruiter spam. It's also a social media site for working professionals that lets you network with industry leaders and climb the corporate ladder. At least that's what it's sold as. Results may vary. It's also a place to post career updates like getting a new promotion or starting a new job, as well as your summer salmon grill and what it taught you about conversion rate optimization, or the art your 9-year-old definitely made and the praise they received from French master artist Alain Bazar for some reason. Usually though, users are going above and beyond to show they're a real go-getter rock star who can work in a fast-paced environment by posting bizarre engagement bait formatted like a penthouse short story about the time they saw an old man rollerblading. Instagram and TikTok influencers have nothing on the absolute grind set of these LinkedIn influencers, and it's become a cesspool because of it. The site is now inundated with corpo-speak-laden posts that feel intentionally confusing, tone-deaf updates, and apologies from CEOs and thought leaders, whatever those are, In general, it's a never-ending congratulatory circle jerk of humble brags and virtue signaling where the only interactions are automated replies of insightful, well said, fantastic update on posts that are clearly scammers using AI. I'm convinced the only reason anyone even comments on anything is to hedge their bets that commenting might lead to a job. It's the lowest form of groveling that I can think we can all admit to participating in at one time or another, with the job market being the way it is.
Say the line, Bart!
Capitalism bad. As cringe as LinkedIn is, it is a fascinating little online space home to a very specific internet user. It's got its own voice and culture and language that sets it apart from mainstream internet content and engagement. Your LinkedIn persona is the human Shrek to your Shrek. It's the respectable version of yourself, the version that doesn't curse, actively listens, and can really rock a smart button-down shirt. Where your Instagram or TikTok persona might be posting thirst traps or Marxist memes, on LinkedIn, you're cosplaying as a great admirer of capitalism. A real yuppie who would do anything to maximize profit margins and provide best-in-class service on behalf of some soulless company peddling diabetes to children, and not someone who would imprison pixies in airtight jars and then fart in front of them with your ogre wife in some kind of bizarre mating ritual. And let's be honest, everyone hates this version of you. Even you. Shrek you is much more fun. I think that's the last Shrek comparison in this video. I could be wrong. This is everyone on LinkedIn. A bunch of human Shrek frauds. Nope. Lying about loving an open concept office and people one broken bone away from being unhoused, all fighting to stand out by using the same language and presenting in the same way. There's a creepy Stepford Wives energy that emanates from the LinkedIn. Sounds ominous. From the LinkedIn. There's a creepy Stepford Wives energy that emanates from LinkedIn that no one talks about, but we can all feel. There's something sinister bubbling just under the surface of the veneer of LinkedIn professionalism. We grit our teeth as we change our status to open to work, or accept another connection from a stranger, or get redirected to a different job board that will force you to fill out your entire work history again, even though you just uploaded a fucking resume. The very successful professionals and corporate CEO users and linked influencers interact with it very differently, though. They seem to be completely deluded by their own self-importance, who have made every aspect of their lives revolve around their expertise in SaaS and innovation. In all honesty, it's kind of impressive how they're able to turn anything into a lesson about business, like when user Brian Shankman shared his marriage proposal and what it taught him about B2B sales. Now, it's truly hard to tell if this post was meant to be bait or if he was genuinely comparing his soon-to-be spouse to closing the deal on a well-run sales cycle. His viral post got a decent amount of traction, gaining over 30,000 reactions, 4,379 comments, and almost 1,000 reposts, and has been spun off into memes that are typically paired with a famous movie quote, and sometimes then co-opted by other LinkedIn users. I hope ironically. The thing is, this kind of content creation actually works despite how much it annoys regular users. Shankman said he doubled his follower count and that he got several new clients from the attention. I feel like this really only works a few times though, if not just once, because people are quick to pick up on insincerity or riding a trend in an attempt to recreate similar success. The reason I can't tell if he was trolling is because the post isn't all that different from how users have been using the platform. It's got the markdown list, the emojis, way too much detail for something as boring as B2B sales or a marriage proposal. It's just that the inclusion of something so personal made it stand out. Most social posts and updates on LinkedIn are business-savvy tips and tricks about how you too can win at capitalism that could easily have provided the same information with half the amount of words, but for some reason, everyone is over-explaining like they're trying to reach the word count on a high school essay. Regardless of the intent or quality of the content being shared, it is content creation, no matter what anyone tells you, and regardless of how embarrassingly corporate and culty it is. It's work these people aren't getting compensated for that has indisputably driven traffic to the platform. Well, they're not getting compensated, it's just different from other platforms. They do have a creator program, but from what I could tell, it's more of a reward system rather than being based on click-through rates or CPM like on YouTube or TikTok. This is one of the many things I find so bizarre about LinkedIn. On other platforms, influencers typically start creating content for themselves, gain a following, and then monetize their influence. On LinkedIn, you're sort of starting at square one, commodifying yourself and your expertise, rather than having that come later. And if you can't gain a following, you don't get a job, which is just not how employment should work. It's like a self-inflicted internship. There's also a weird thing where if you become a big enough linked influencer working for a company, a lot of your content has to revolve around promoting that company rather than promoting things you, the individual, want to promote because it aligns with your values and interests. If you're the CEO for McDonald's posting content on LinkedIn, it is almost solely going to be an advertisement for the company that employs you. It's a weird arena of selling out to a product or service that has the sole rights to what you're able to say, because if you don't, Ronald McDonald will come to your house and stage a murder-suicide between you and the family dog. He's very creative. As the platform has descended into a cesspool of mind-numbing corporate messaging attempting to create a viral moment, it's also become absolutely useless at the one thing it's supposed to do: get you a job. It's full of scams and ghost jobs and sponsored recruiters who will never reply to you because they're not real. So if you're just a regular Joe trying to secure a job, you're never gonna pop up on anyone's radar unless you grind out engagement bait. I've had and used LinkedIn for probably 15 years or more and have only ever once gotten a job from it, and it was only because a friend of a friend recommended me, and the person that offered me the job offered it to me through LinkedIn Messenger because they didn't have my direct contact information. I didn't even know the company was hiring, and I'm pretty sure they never even looked at my profile. It seems like it only really works for those in tech and literally no one else. You can find countless videos of people complaining about sending out hundreds of resumes and applications for literal years with nothing to show for it. Even when people do land a job, they sing its praises while also talking shit about it in the same breath. It's because its recommendations feel completely broken, where 90% of what it recommends are for positions in an industry you have zero knowledge or experience in. My work history is in fashion, apparel, and retail, and a few side hustle, marketing, and operations jobs. So why the fuck am I getting real estate and cryptocurrency recommendations? I guess I could always sign up for the premium subscription that's basically a pay-to-play model that boosts your visibility and, of course, grants you access to AI tools. Stop putting AI in everything. So let's recap really quick. If you're looking for employment, you're either currently unemployed or not making enough money at your current job. So where does LinkedIn think users are going to scrounge together $30 for something that might not even be that different from using their free service? You'd think that in a world where large language models and generative AI exist, there'd be some algorithm that could analyze your LinkedIn work experience, or the resume you upload to the platform, or the brands you follow on the platform, in order to accurately recommend jobs that align with the information you input on their platform. If it can't, what are any of us doing this for? People have come to rely on it more than ever, especially after a historic year of layoffs with no end in sight. They're sick of sending out hundreds or thousands of resumes only to get 3 callbacks, 2 interviews that only lead to one interested party, that inevitably forces them to create a PowerPoint presentation that still doesn't land them employment, only to get a job through a friend of a friend. It's become a necessary evil that doesn't feel so necessary. A lot of these layoffs have been in tech, and some people might not feel too bad because of the stereotype that Google employees make arguably too much money. But to dispel that myth, many of these companies aren't paying every employee 6 figures, or are the most stable employers at all, or ethical. Plus, it's not like a tech company is only laying off engineers and developers. There are other types of positions like janitors and receptionists and customer service reps who are probably the first to go because they're lower on the totem pole. Or the entire marketing team because salespeople don't understand their value. If it's a small startup, it's kind of always been the case that your job will become obsolete when Google or Apple swallows it up in a corporate merger after a year or two. Over the years, I have had several friends who worked in tech and tech-adjacent companies who have gotten laid off and been unemployed for the better part of a year, who are making the bare minimum 5 figures to afford living in San Francisco. From SF Gate, Peter Hollander had very little savings when he was laid off. Then Then he got a job at Wish, only to get laid off again a few months later, where he eventually found employment at a completely different industry at a maternity health startup, and despite being paid much less, says he was, quote, lucky after months of spamming his resume to any opening. So it's no wonder he agrees that LinkedIn has become a cesspool of business-themed shit posting, as have many other users. This resentment has built up on the site for the last couple of years, not just because of all the layoffs and shit posts and ghost jobs, but also because of the tone-deaf CEOs that somehow managed to do all three in a single update. This fucking guy posted a selfie of himself crying over having to lay people off, saying, "This will be the most vulnerable thing I'll ever share, and I just want people to see that not every CEO out there is cold-hearted and doesn't care when he or she have to lay people off," he said, all while still having a job. People commented how absurd and narcissistic it is to post a mid-cry selfie, and that doing so is self-serving and tone-deaf nonsense. It's classic virtue signaling that makes it all about him and how he feels. Look at my tears, I swear I'm a really good guy, I had shareholders to consider, guys. It's the same thing as when someone brags about their philanthropy. I'm looking at you, Jimmy. Regardless of the reasons why he had to lay people off, doing this shit is just bizarre. I mean, most of the time layoffs happen, it's because a company was bad at budgeting and had an overinflated valuation they used to justify spending $75,000 on for office space that was completely unnecessary, or paying their CEO a several $1,000,000 salary who absconds on weeks-long vacations to Greece, or wherever rich people go on holiday. Monaco? This all points to a larger systemic problem in the corporate world. Unhinged CEOs, like Andy Owen, CEO of Miller Knoll, who scolded her employees on a Zoom call, telling them to just shut the fuck up about bonuses.
Be kind, be respectful, focus on the future because it will be bright. It's not good to be in a situation we're in today, but we're not going to be here forever. It is going to get better. So lead by example, treat people well, talk to them, be kind, and get after it. Don't ask about, what are we going to do if we don't get a bonus? Get the damn $26 million. Spend your time and your effort thinking about the $26 million we need and not thinking about what you're going to do if we don't get a bonus. All right? Can I get some commitment for that? I would appreciate that. I had an old boss who said to me one time, you can visit Pity City, but you can't live there. So people, leave Pity City. Let's get it done. Thank you.
The cognitive dissonance in starting that meeting off by instructing them to be kind and lead by example, only to then berate them in the most unkind, condescending way, is quite impressive. She did apologize via email, saying she felt terrible that her message seemed insensitive, where I assume she meant to say was insensitive. Probably just a typo. Then there's this guy, James Clark, CEO of ClearLink, saying that having kids isn't fair to employers.
And those of you that are here have sacrificed greatly to be here as well, to be away from your family. I learned from one of our leaders that in the midst of hearing this message, went out and sold their family dog, which breaks my heart as someone who's been, at the head of the humanization of pets movement in other businesses that we've built. Those are the sacrifices that are being made, and I honor you for those sacrifices. That said, working hard at all, and it's unfair to the rest that are. Some have already quietly quit their positions, but are taking a paycheck. That's, again, not to say that they weren't working at all, but those are not great indicators.
These people need to be surrounded by a PR team handling them at all times. It's not like they can't afford it. When they're not saying some of the most horrific classist shit on the planet, they're cosplaying as poor by intentionally living on the street under the guise of it being a social experiment. For anyone who missed this, millionaire Mike Black wanted to prove that anyone could make $1 million from nothing, so he quit his 7-figure job, cut off all ties to any connections, and for almost a year he begged, bartered, worked delivery gig jobs, and sold shit on Facebook Marketplace in his self-inflicted $1 million comeback challenge. He also documented the whole thing on YouTube because what's the point of opting into poverty if you can't generate a little ad revenue on the side? He eventually ended up starting and managing several ventures that resulted in his sleep deprivation, and you'll never believe it, he crushed it, dude. Fuck yeah. No, I'm just joking. He quit after 10 months due to health issues where he raked in a whopping $64,000. just a little short of the million he was aiming for. After getting publicly flogged by the whole of the internet, he made a follow-up video titled, "I pissed off the woke people on the internet. Here's what happened," where he got roasted for a second time and doubled down or tripled down on all the angry commenters by referring to them as the blue-haired people. Dude. So yeah, these are the thought leaders that exist on LinkedIn with their cushy 6- and 7-figure jobs you're sucking up to in the job market. People who think it's a good idea to post about how they watch porn? Open to work, more like open to jerk. Or are trying to seduce people into contacting them about a job for a company that, I don't know, encourages you to sleep your way to the top? Why does this post feel like a threat? LinkedIn has emboldened out-of-touch dorks to be just the worst and convinced entrepreneurs and CEOs that they're more important than the janitor or mailroom clerk. It's insane to me how often they deep-throat their own foot on Zoom calls and don't hear the words coming out of their mouths. In their defense, talking with a mouthful of foot is incredibly hard. LinkedIn feels like one of those too big to fail companies where its use is basically standard practice because there isn't a better alternative, despite how terrible the service it is. The only positive things about the LinkedIn cesspool is that 1, users are picking up on the never-ending brain rot and actively mocking LinkedIn on their own platform, and 2, in perpetuating a phony, performative, capitalist-centric mindset more akin to social climbing than true networking, it actually leads to some level of class consciousness by virtue of it being so goddamn awful. Everything on LinkedIn is pseudo-aspirational corporate gibberish where everyone is fantastic and doing great at their job. Trust me, bro. I definitely don't want to burn this place down. In actuality, the service sucks, everyone hates using it, and the only people who find success are out-of-touch CEOs and company bootlickers paying for a premium subscription. The average user has reached their breaking point in the job hunting landscape. Like, it shouldn't be this hard to secure employment, and no one should have to jump through the hoops of multiple interviews that exploit their labor. The system is rigged against anyone who hasn't gone above and beyond, and no one should, but I don't really know what the answer is. I mean, openly talking shit about LinkedIn in the news and in r/LinkedIn lunatics is a good start, if for no other reason than to spread awareness of how atrocious these companies are and how they fundamentally screw workers time and time again. 38 minutes in total. Nice. That's the video. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you made it this far, that means you're special. And now that you're special, you gotta follow the rules, which are, you gotta like, you gotta comment, you gotta share, and you gotta subscribe. Yeah, that's the last one. You gotta subscribe because 80+% of my viewers are not subscribed. So consider subscribing. It would really help the channel out. To all my new subscribers, thank you so much. Holy shit. I did not expect that video to gain me almost 2,000 more subscribers. So welcome to the channel if you're new here. Go follow me on Instagram, where I post updates about the channel and memes. It's mostly memes. It's a lot of memes, but I think they're funny. And that's it. Until next time. Well, no, I don't. Okay, hang on. I don't know when the next video is going to be because I'm going on a little vacation with some friends. I'm going on a boys trip. And I'm bringing these bugs with me. So I don't know when the next video is going to come out, which is even more of an incentive for you to go follow me on Instagram and subscribe to the channel so you know when the next video happens. Those are all my updates. Thanks so much again. Until next time, vanish. It's pretty good, right? It's okay.